Alright everyone, welcome back to the ZHP garage. We're actually in the ZHP garage for a first. And we got some nice room cleared out right here. Well, there's still a big piece of trash right here. But we're gonna be able to do some doing on this engine in the training. We gotta bolt the flywheel and we gotta do the clutch. What else you got?
Oil pan. We're gonna pull it out. Gonna show the sick headers. Steering shaft. Oh, we got to finish mounting the AC. We got to clearance the frame a little bit more. A couple of odds in it.
Let's get into it.
What's going on YouTube? We're back here with the Nova. We got some stuff done to it. I don't know if I showed you yet. We got the fuel rails on it. We need to pull the engine out to finish up a couple things. I'm gonna have the fuel system. You see we have it. So this is where the fuel is gonna come in. And it's gonna feed this rail, and then it comes across and it fills up this rail. And then we have the regulator. Then it returns back. And then the return line's still a little long. So what I'm planning on doing is I have these bulkheads fittings, and I'm gonna mount them back here on the firewall. So it's pretty much even. I'll probably change this to a 45. And then I'll have, the feed here, and then the return will come out the back and go in there. So I'm gonna mount that here, and then have we're doing the aluminum line. It's all -8 feed and return. So the -8 will come down. It'll come over here to the side, away from the heat, and it'll tuck around over here, and then it'll be wrapped insulator by the headers. You can see the intake's just sitting on here, but you can see on this intake they don't have any provisions for the map sensor. They just have the pipe fittings here in the back for just pipe fittings. So we got to figure out something for the map. I think I'm going to mount it up here. It's the only place thick enough, so we still have to deal with that, but we're going to take the intake off so we don't worry about damaging it. All right, so now we got the intake off, and you can see, so this is going to go underneath, and I need to put I'm going to use one of those one of those pipe fittings. I'm going to put a barbed 90 on it for the crankcase. And then these two will come together to a vent, probably do a canister. But you see I need to get the engine out because I need to finish filling the holes. So that's one of the reasons why we're pulling it out. We got the gas pedal over here. We're doing a fly-by-wire, so that's going to be filled up. We got going on there, and you can see that I got the headers all finished up. It turned out nice. I'm going to clearance it a little bit more when we pull the engine out right here for the AC lines. Give a little more room for that lower line. I couldn't get a bracket to support the lower column, so I wound up getting this is a steering shaft heim joint, so it's oversized for the steering shaft to go through, and then this heim's adjustable and just has like a rod end. And I welded it here. I still need to finish welding it, and then you see now that the shaft is it's 1,000 is clearance in here, so you got a little bit, but supports the lower column now, and you can see how the steering shaft goes through the headers. So the passenger headers, or the driver header, pretty much mimics the passenger header. So now we're going to take them back out, and the steering shaft comes out. It's not tight, so you got to loosen the jam nut. It comes apart. It's a little tight, but we're going to pull the headers, and then also still need to finish up the mounts. So from the factory, the way the C5 compressor mounts, one of these are a bolt, but the other two were studs, and I was just going to make a stud because they discontinued one of them from the dealer. But I still have to mount that, and then the bolt and the one in the engine mount here needs to be still put in. I need to change it because right now it's a socket head. This one here, and I need to change it to an Allen head to get it a little lower to clear the compressor. It's still a little tight. So a couple things I got to do once the engine's out. Right now we're just pretty much we're gonna pull it out. We're gonna leave the whole drive on the front of it. That's all good. So let's get these headers off of here. So you can see I didn't push the wires on all the way because I didn't want to keep putting them on and off, and messing up expanding them over the spark plugs and everything. So they're just barely onto but these headers come out, they fit really good. They come right out the top. And this thing still has a starter and everything on it. You just gotta wiggle jiggle them through. Careful not to beat them up. I just painted them. So there you go. And it's got the O2 bungs. I don't have the O2s yet, that's why they're not in there. You can see that we V-banded it. I just painted it with a high temp header paint. You can see the starter and everything's on there, so fits really nicely. And this one here, we got the steering shaft out of the way, so I don't have it all the way tight. So what I have it set up is there's a jam nut on the rack itself, so it's just finger tight. So I back up the jam nut, and then the column's not tight, but these are tight. So my wrench is very magnetic here on metal shavings, I guess. Take the lock nuts loose and back out the Allen. Push this all the way down. And get this shaft, the top U-joint off. So then you got to twist it off of the column, and you got to take this U-joint off, and then you can pull it off of the rack. And then you got to come back forward with it, pull it out of the heim. about like so. Get the steering shaft out of the way. This one's just a little tighter because of the master cylinder. It comes out the top, just like so. Same thing. V-band, O2 sensor. Now that we have the headers off, want to make sure to tape up the port. Cam, the cam and everything's all in it. I'm gonna keep it sealed up. So these bolts, the engine mounts, the passenger one over here, it's not all the way in. You can see bolts through it, but see how it's really tight for a nut? I'm gonna have to weld a nut to the engine mount. So this bolt is just gonna go in and just tighten up because there's no room to get in there to hold it. I probably have to cut the nut down a little bit, but I'm gonna weld it into the mount. All right, so now we're gonna set up the tripod. Watch us pull this thing out of here. Well, we're hoping to put on the clutch and flywheel, bolt it all together, but I think I ordered the wrong year. The clutch looks good, the rod bearing looks good, but the flywheel, I think it's for the wrong year. I think I screwed up. I think I ordered it for a 04 Camaro, and this is a 14 transmission. So step here, you can see it's not gonna work. It has the dowel pins, but even if it's sat flat, it wouldn't even grab. So I got the wrong flywheel. So we're gonna have to order a different flywheel. Got the rod bearing, you can see is right. It's just a stock replacement Luke. That's right. That's going to work good. So that's right. And then the clutch is right, the disc and everything. And then there's this bracket that mounts the slave cylinder. And it looks like it goes like so, but I have studs and this is tapped. So we got to eliminate one of those. And then this is going to go under the master cylinder. It's going to go through there. That goes to the master. So I got to mount that, which works out good because now I have the engine out of the way. At least I can work on the firewall here like we talked about. So the pan's not bolted on, so it keeps sitting here dripping and running oil out. So I think we had an issue with the wheelage tray. So I got to pull the pan off and see if there's one in there. I don't think there's one in there. I think we got to order the wheelage tray for this pan. So we're going to get that ordered. So on right here you can see now a little bit more what I'm talking about, how tight the compressor is. That bolt's not in there right now. So I'm gonna have to do like an Allen head, something like this. Bolt in here for the mount, and you can see how close it is here for the compressor. I'm gonna have to open this up and I'm gonna weld a nut pretty much into the mount. I don't have room to get in there. I don't even think I could fit a wrench in there, let alone a nut. So I gotta cut a nut down. So I'm gonna clearance this a little bit more. Like I talked about with the engine in this here is where the AC line comes up. I'm gonna open that up a little bit more. And a little bit more here on the side where the compressor is. Give that a little bit more room. And then I need to finish welding the bracket here. I didn't weld the inside. I'm going to clearance this a little bit more of a radius. This is where the header comes down. And then if you remember, when we first tried to mock up the engine, I had the wrong mounts. So I wound up cutting this down for the wrong mounts in a sense. So now these are too narrow. So when I had the engine in there, I had to pretty much space it back thickness of 2 washers. So I'm gonna have to weld something on here, washer, shim, something to get that thickness. I'm gonna run the brake lines. I have these clamps for the brake line, but I'm not gonna use the nut. I don't wanna run them on the outside because the inner fenders, I don't wanna notch the inner fenders or anything, so they're gonna come around. So this side's gonna come, across underneath the sway bar probably and come over, but it'll be underneath, and then it's go to the outside and come up. So you see right here, so you have your two front lines, so left and right. So it's just going to come out and do probably, the twirls aren't as important on this because it's solid mounted, but I still want to have it for any flex. I want to, just in case, you will get a little bit of flex. I don't want to tug it on the line, so I'll probably come down, do one loop, and then I'll come to the outside with the brake lines, and then underneath, and then the one line for the left side's right here. So it'll just come here, then the passenger will come underneath the sway bar across. Here's the other bracket here, and I'm gonna drill the frame, and I'm gonna tap it this thread, and I'm just gonna screw these in to the frame. So no nut, I'm just gonna thread them in, and we're gonna get this powder coated. We decided to probably do like a silver because I don't want too much black. we'll probably do like a silver. All right, so we're back here another day, the next day, and we're having a little issue with parts. So we found out we were gonna do the oil pan on the engine, but then we found out we didn't have the right woodless tray. If we were to run the stock one, we had to cut like a quarter of it off. But then we found out if we order the GM F-body woodless tray, that we can keep it complete. We just gotta do a little bit of trimming in certain areas. So we're gonna order the woodless tray for an F-body, so we gotta wait for that. You know, we gotta order that. We have stainless hardline. I was gonna run the brake lines, but then I found out that we don't have the fittings for the brake lines because you don't do a double flare on the stainless. You gotta do a 37 degree, like an AN flare, use AN fittings. Before I order anything else, we're gonna go through our parts and then see what we need to get. So we only need to do one order instead of doing multiple little orders. I need to find, you know, the plugs, because this master cylinder, you can have the outlets on either side. So I needed to find those, which I found those. So we got them stashed in this box here. So we got the plugs. I think these are the screws for the cap. Then we got the little boot for the brake pedal. We found the shims that go with the front end to shim it. So that's good. So we found all kinds of stuff. So then we got our box of the front brakes, and I think I showed these before. They're just, they look like they're powder coated. Wilwood 4-piston calipers. But then we got an issue going on here with the brake lines. So we welded on the bracket for this. So this would go like so, and you retains it with a clip. We got these ones, but these ones are set up to go with a 3/16 double flare, which we can't use with stainless line. So we got to get different fittings for the brake line in the little bracket there. And then we have, this line's obviously too short. Be a little guitar string when you turn the wheel, so that one's not going to work. So we got to figure out the brake lines. So we need to get these straightened out, because this needs to be, so this is a -3, but it needs to be a -3 on this side also, but it didn't have the retaining clip to be held in the bracket. So that's why these are wrong. And you can see, if you ever dealt with the Wilwoods, these little thin ones are for shimming it so it's centered on the rotor. And this one's also has the holes in it. You can safety wire it. So if we had our caliper on here to get an idea how long a brake line we need to get, then also the fitting in the caliper. So here's a 90. So we can figure out if it's straight. A straight would probably be better because it's coming right here. So we got to get an 1/8 inch to -3 straight. It's brake line, or we could do a 90, sit like that. Looks pretty good. And also the suspension is all the way down right now, so it's going to be up a little higher, so maybe a 45 would work better. And you can see that we got the tires. We're going to run a 245 35 18 on the front of this. Fits pretty good. We go lock to lock, got plenty of room, so it's gonna fits nice, gonna handle really nice. We even have a little more room because, like I said, the suspension's hanging down, so once you get the control arm straighter at ride height, it's going to bring it out a little bit. So that's what we got going on in the front. So now we're going to open up the rear suspension that we haven't even opened in the box. So all the suspension on this thing is TCI. And we did the, you know, TCI front end and then TCI torque link rear suspension. And then we run in Viking rear shocks. Got the cute little springs. Man, you wonder how it's going to hold up the car. Cute little guy. And these are the shocks. Got to put it all together. Double adjust. Pretty nice. So shocks look good, springs look good. Let's see what's in this box. This thing's like an unboxing video. I don't even know what's in this one. Oh, it's got the Crossmember. So this Crossmember is supposed to use the same stock subframe, and then it's supposed to work in conjunction with the Tremec 6-speed. That's all. It's all in that box. We got more boxes. Hold on, we got more boxes. We got this guy. So these look like the rear all those poor trees I just murdered. Subframe connectors. Then you see it has it where the Crossmember goes to. Let's see what else we got. Other side. Wait, there's more. Found another box. You tell by the cleanliness of this box, it's been sitting around for a few days. Man, got this one really closed up. And this is the torque link. Oh, that runs all the way up the center. below the driveline and allows the rear end to pivot. Hold on, there's more. Oh, this one's heavy. It exceeds my load capacity. Somebody went and put a cherry picker in the way. Hold on. Looks like somebody's having a shooting contest with stapler. Oh, we got more trees. So this is pretty much the whole rear suspension. Looks like the rear end mount. Then we got the Crossmember. Oh. It'll stop, really. We got the brackets for the rear end. There's two of them there. Gotta get a hammer on that one. Those are both the rear end. You see the coilovers bolt here. You got 3 adjustments on ride height. Then we have panhard bar. We have, looks like lower control arms, lower trailing arms, 4-link arms. And then we have more paper. Man, I want to get this big one out of here. Everything's hooked to it. We gotta kill the box. Man. So this is the back of the transmission. This is going to be bolted in this area here. And then that's where front of the torque link, this I think is the front, is going to bolt right there. All the necessary hardware. Oh, there's a picture of how everything works. I'll show it to you. Okay. So this is a cross member that goes across the, or not a cross member, it's like a shock mount for the upper. So this goes across the floor, trunk floor in the car. But wait, there's more. Man, 4 trees. 4 trees. So this is what bolts onto the rear end. And this is what the torque link, so the backside back here, the torque link bolts here. So this bolts to the rear end cover, rear diff cover, so it comes with a gasket. And then these are gonna go from the top, up here, down to down here, right here. Comes with all the hardware. Wow, that's for the torque link. It's like a shock absorber. Set the preload up on it. How hard do you want it to, if you want it to a little softer, do you want to hit right away? This is going to screw in here. So if you're not thoroughly confused, there's a picture right here. This is how it works. There's your whole torque link rear suspension. You got your cross member, 2 subframe connectors, and this is the doubles as a drive shaft loop. This is where the front of the torque link comes to. Then you have your 2 braces, your rear end, lower arms, coilovers, and that's your coilover bracket. The whole rear suspension. That's what all this is. That's what's going to go into this Nova. So we need to look about, oh, wait, I got one more. Hold on. Oh, this one's heavy too. Oh. Then we have the rear disc brakes that we're going to use on this thing. Just a single piston rear disc brakes with the parking brake. Gotta have a parking brake obviously with a manual. So that's the rear disc. So it comes with brake lines. So these brake lines go from the caliper to the hard line on the rear end. So there's tabs you have to weld onto the rear end. Got these 2 tabs right here. So these go onto the rear end housing, because if you hard line to your caliper, you're never gonna get it off the rear end without ganking your brake line. This goes to the caliper side. Put this on the rear end somewhere out of the way. Weld that on. Then you have slack to get your caliper off to change your brake pads. So that's pretty much the whole rear suspension. So we got most of our parts lined out. A couple things we need to get. We're just gonna be running a stock harness, so we're gonna clean it up. We're gonna de-lume it, lay it out. This one is set up for an automatic, so we're gonna eliminate the automatic, and we're just gonna use, because the 65 doesn't have any backup lights, so the only thing we need from the automatic part of it is the speed sensor, the output speed sensor for the manual. So that's the only thing we're gonna be using on the automatic part of it. This is a stock harness, stock PCM. It's the little PCM. I think this PCM is for the 8 to 11, I'm pretty sure. And then the PCM is going to be mounted inside the car, pretty much on the inside of where right next to the stock fuse box where the headlight harness comes in. So you won't see this. The harness will just go inside. So that's the way I'm going to set that up. So we got that. So like we said before, we're going to be running the stock 10 bolt, the stock Nova 10 bolt. It's just the 8.2. The Richmond We're doing new bearings in the rear end. We're gonna be running just a 80-90 gear oil with it's got the additive already in it. We got an Auburn limited slip. I don't think that has additive. That's straight gear oil because the limited slip comes with their additive they want you to use. So that's just straight 80-90 weight. Then we have the 3 Series carrier. So we got a Richmond. We got a 308 gear, and we got a 308 because the Nova, you can't really put a tall tire on it. The tire in the back is it's not even 26 inches in height. So even though with the 6-speed, if you go too low a gear, you know, you still be screaming down the freeway. We want to be able to drive this car. We're running this 308 gear, and plus that gives you more on the pinion side, you know, so you're not worried about, you know, messing up the pinion gear, because normally when you go lower ratio on the smaller rear ends is where you have an issue. I don't know where they're at the moment, but we got ARP. I don't like the bolts that come in the kit. They come in new ring gear bolts. I think they're kind of weak, so we got ARP ring gear bolts. So it looks like those parts are all good. So we just need to order a couple odds and ends for the engine, odds and ends for the front brakes, odds and ends for the tranny. We also are going to be replacing the axle bearings and seals, because that doesn't come. You can get it in a kit, but we got separate. So we're going to do that also. So now we're going to clean up our mess here, get organized, take out our tree 50. The AC should be showing up here pretty soon. So we're going to get this firewall straightened out. I don't want to have any holes in it, so we're going to do the mounting. We're going to weld the mounting brackets on the inside for the AC. So we'll have that soon. So we'll get this firewall done. Get our suspension mocked up before we get it painted or powder coated. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at on the old Nova.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video here on the ZHP Garage. We're going to get a little hitch in our get along, get some work done to this, and get on the way, man. We're excited to get it done. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's getting even brighter and brighter as we're going, and we just want to see this thing on the road. So if you liked the video, please go down below, hit the like button, and also hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And here's a couple other videos you can check out. We make videos every week, so you always got something to look forward to. So until next time, I'll see you guys.